Okay, here we are in Kelowna, BC with my man, the Thunder from Down Under, Ozzy Dave. Now, what brought you to this horrible, horrible place?
Desire for a little bit of home.
Okay.
Without the ability of going back there.
I hear you. So, this is you got quite an interesting story. First of all, you're Australian. Mm-hmm. You're now here in Kelowna, BC, Canada.
Yep.
And you have a pretty cool story. What made you want to, first of all, just come to Canada? You first came to Vancouver, Edmonton, and then eventually you decided to come out to this beautiful Okanogan area.
Yep. Well, started at a nightclub, dancing on a table in Byron Bay.
Yeah.
Met some people there.
Yeah.
You know, became friends with them. Found out they lived pretty close to me on the Gold Coast.
Right.
You know, friendship went on, and I kind of wasn't really doing much there. You know, a little bit of work here, work there. Surfing is, kind of the life that everyone's chasing, right? Like everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds horrible, but when you're ready to grow up, there wasn't much going on. So I told him, I don't have much going on. They said, well, why don't you check out Canada? I was like,
yeah.
Okay. Well, it gives it some thought. So
how long did it take you to think of that thought?
A few seconds.
Yeah.
Give it some thought. Who am I going to consult? I'm going to talk to my my best bud, Twiggy. I'm going to talk to him and see what he thinks of this idea, right? Most people call their parents for advice.
Right.
I'm gonna call Twiggy.
Good old Twiggy.
And as I called him,
he seems like a thin guy. Was he a skinny guy?
Yes. Hence
the name.
The name. Yeah, that's how he got it.
It's reasonable.
Good friends would just call him by his name, Jordan, but Twiggy's just what it's going to be now.
Yeah.
So I called him up, and I was just about to ask him, what are your thoughts on going to Canada? And he kind of cut me off. He's like, hey, I had this idea. I'm like, okay, you first. He goes, would you want to go to Canada? And I went, hey, really? It's one of the. I was about to ask you the same thing, and he's like, yeah, okay, we're going 3 months. Save your money. We're going.
Let's go.
We're done.
See you later, bud.
So yeah, he flew over first. He got a plane a little bit earlier, and then I flew over, and landed in Vancouver, and I had my first experience with Tim Hortons.
Did you?
It wasn't good.
How was that? That is actually, for a Canadian, that is a very exciting thing. Because Tim Hortons is fucking fabulous. Well, no, not anymore, but it was fabulous.
Well, I was kind of lucky enough to have good coffee growing up. So, I get off the plane, I'm a little bit, shaky at the knees there, and I'm ready for a coffee, right? Because it's Friday night or whatever it was. So now I just land, and now I got to go out in Vancouver for my first night.
Beautiful Tim's,
and going to Tim Hortons for a coffee, and I don't know the term double. I don't know how to order anything. With terminology. I'm just straight off the boat, maybe 35 beers deep, right? They ran out of Heineken on the plane, so I had to drink some foreign Chinese Taipei beer. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, right.
You
got the cheapest Asian flavor.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But I ordered a coffee, and I took one sip, and I thought the guy had done something to the coffee. I honestly thought this guy, I'm like, what'd you do to my coffee? No, it was not.
You loved it so much.
No, I can only imagine this is how it is being a junkie. The first time's no good, but you keep coming back till you're hooked. That's kind of how Tim Hortons. I think that's how everyone, probably the story everyone has with Tim Hortons, right?
I don't like cocaine. I just tried it the one time. Yeah. I'll never do it again till next week.
Tomorrow. Yeah. So that was Tim. I almost threw the coffee at the guy. I thought I was so convinced and intoxicated that I thought he'd really done something. So anyways, I walked away from that. Imagine that, getting to Canada and being told to turn around, get on the next plane home. That wouldn't have worked out real good.
Coffee sucks. See you later. I'm going back.
Yeah, so anyways, hung out in Vancouver for a day or two there, maybe a week, I don't remember now, but met up with friends in Sherwood Park, and it's kind of funny because I was a little bit hungover coming in, a little bit delirious from spending a few days in Vancouver there and flying into Edmonton, and everyone had told me about Sherwood Park. Now, I didn't listen when they talked about Sherwood Park. Like, I envisioned Sherwood Forest, this wooded, beautiful Canadian forest.
That's a reasonable idea.
And, they never said any of this. That's what I thought, without really checking in. And as I'm flying in, you look out the window of the plane and you can see forever, right? I'm on the window seat. You can see forever. I'm like, there's no forest here. Like, what's going on? And then I'm like, oh, maybe it's out the other side of the plane. Well, the plane does this great big turn. I'm like, oh, now I'm getting a full 360 view, and I don't see this forest. Well, maybe they live a lot further from the airport than what they let on.
Right,
maybe it's actually like a couple hours, because I can see a long way and I don't see any forest. And so now I'm panicking. Like, did I get on the wrong plane? Like, what's going on here? But it's okay, whatever. The pilot comes on and says, yeah, we're about to land in Edmonton, Alberta, blah, 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 welcome, blah, all that stuff.
Right.
And I land and I get there and I'm greeted by the friends and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you live a little further than you said. And they're like, no, probably actually 20 minutes, a little closer. I'm like, maybe I just wasn't, maybe my eyes are wrong.
Maybe you weren't paying attention.
Maybe I wasn't paying attention,
paying attention to the Sherwood Forest.
Maybe it was under the plane and I could only see out the side, you know what I mean? Like, so, well, go to Sherwood Park and there's no forest.
No, there
or refineries, and I grew up on beautiful white sand beaches, and anyone that's been to the east coast of Australia knows what it's about. And I come into this, and I was like, okay, well, I'm here. I'm gonna make the most of it.
You're in Birda Town.
Yeah, they couldn't take me to Banff quick enough, to settle me down. What have you guys done to me here?
Honestly,
and I wouldn't give up the years I spent in Edmonton for anything.
Because it's actually...
I was there for 11 years.
11 years.
And people can say whatever they want about it. I wouldn't give it up.
It's fucking...
For what it did for me.
Alberta is an amazing province. It's one of the most incredible provinces on the planet, because you can go there without a penny to your name, and within a few years you can really have something in your life.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
I grew up where there wasn't a lot of work.
Right.
It wasn't a lot of work, so, paycheck to paycheck type thing. So, I desired to have a full-time job, really, like, no time off, get to work, buy a house, do all the things you want to do. But, I put in a couple of good years, the first winter was, they didn't lie.
No.
Well, they kind of did. They told me it got to minus 30 and minus 35. No, it was like minus 48 or something, my first winter. So, they lied. It was much colder than they thought, even though I didn't know anywhere on the planet got as cold as they said. Because I watched Cool Runnings, right?
Well,
he gets out of the airport and it's minus 18, and it's like, look, I've seen the movie. I've seen it only gets that cold. No, far, far colder.
It's a temperature that's, until you experience it, it's unimaginable.
Yeah, if you come from a hot place, you've never experienced anything like it.
Nothing.
It is absolutely...
It hurts your skin.
You realize you know nothing about the world. You really don't. There's a lot to learn. Like there's just a lot of the world that you...
And the craziest part is fuckers working that. People go out and work in that.
And that's the funny part, is law of attraction or Murphy's law, whatever it is. I end up becoming a framer and doing carpentry outside all year round. So, it was a shock. It was a shock. Learning how to dress for it, it's layers. You got to put on layers, and it's got to breathe. Like driving to work is like my first minus 20 something degree day, and it's cold. The car doesn't want to start. Everything's frozen. You're trying to figure out why my car's working. You don't understand how it's working because it's so cold. And so you put all the heat on. You put the heat straight on your feet because they're cold. So what happens is your insulated work boots, your feet sweat. Now your feet sweat and they're not breathing. So now you got wet feet, wet socks, wet feet from them sweating in the car. You go to work, they freeze, black toe. So I got the black toe.
You got the black toe?
I got the black toe.
No!
It took maybe 7 years of not doing it over and over to get rid of the black toe.
You got the black toe.
I got the black toe. It wasn't the whole toe, it was the end of the toe, but I got the black toe.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting thing. So when you first got to Canada, because now you're a business owner, what's the name of your business?
We go by, and we still hold our Alberta number.
Right.
Yeah, we operate as Newon Construction.
Newon Construction.
Yeah, is what we operate as.
But the interesting thing is you came to Canada, and what was the first job? Did you start doing framing at the beginning?
Framing from the start, yep. I just thought, I'm a carpenter by trade, let's get to the basics.
Right.
We don't build the same in Canada as we do in Australia. So
Way different.
So it was like, I'm going back to square one. Like it is very, very different.
Yeah.
So, my qualification there meant nothing. Here, like it absolutely, as you learn in Alberta, if you got desire, dream, passion, you can do anything. Anything. So, and you don't need a fancy degree to do it.
You definitely don't.
If you're set on it, Alberta will give you the opportunity.
When you came here, did you have the vision of starting a business, or was it just like, I'm just going to be here for the year and see what happens, I'm just going to do framing to make some money,
yeah.
Make some friends?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's kind of an interesting thing. Like, you picked Edmonton of all the places, you chose framing, and then you actually built a life here, and now you are working on amazing projects.
Yeah, so it started with, I worked with a guy, Milo, and he was good. He treated me like family. He was a good man. He took me in. He was tough on me when I needed to be.
Right.
Pat on the back when I needed it. Like, he really, when you're this far away from your family and stuff, right? And you're in your 20s, you've never really been away before.
Right.
You think, you got to park your pride a little bit, right? That, Christmas comes around and you're spending it alone, but you're never alone in Edmonton.
No.
That's the thing I loved about Edmonton. I'd have multiple offers from multiple different friends and families. Come to our home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come to our home. Don't be alone. Be with us. And that's Edmonton to me. And that's why I could not ever regret. If I could live two lives, I wish one could be there. And I'd be here as well.
And another one in Australia.
And one in Australia. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's the hand I'm dealt, right? I spent a lot of years in Australia. A lot of years in Edmonton. I'm in Kelowna. Who knows what's next, right? So.
Okay, so how many years did you do framing before you decided to go out on your own? So you got into Canada at what age? 20?
2009, 86, 23, 24?
23,
maybe?
24.
Maybe. Yeah.
You're coming to Canada, and then how many years? You started right off the bat, Edmonton. You started framing.
Yeah, so for me, the value of consistent work and full-time work, when I got here, there was a bit of a recession in Australia. People in Edmonton told me there was a recession there. I put out a resume and just made a couple inquiries, and they all got back to me within 30 minutes or less. I'm like, this isn't a recession. What are you talking about?
Right.
And my friends were like, no, it's pretty slow right now for the construction. I'm like, okay, if you say so, I guess. I found that to be amazing. Like, hey, I got an opportunity. So my first day at work, I'm not even at work. Like, it's cold, like really cold. I got all the wrong gear on. I'm freezing. It's horrible. And I put a nail through my finger.
First day?
30 minutes into my first job, first day, and I'm already not even hitting it off well with the foreman. I kind of carried a bit of ignorance with me, I guess, and we just didn't jive very good straight off the bat. That first thing, the nail gun, because it's icy, slips, and I shoot myself straight through the finger and out the other side. And I'm like, and it's through the glove. I'm like, under my breath, and the guy working with me, he's like, oh my God, you shot yourself. And I'm like, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? Yeah, I can see it. I'm going to go get someone. I'm like, no, you're not. I pulled the thing out, just kind of put another glove on just so they couldn't see the blood, and the foreman comes running over. I'm just like, this guy's looking for any reason to get rid of me. And he goes, you shoot yourself? Nope. He goes, he told me he did. No, just a nail. Nothing. And just the blood seeping through the glove.
Oh my God.
He's like, what's that on your hand? I was like, no, nothing. Don't worry about it. Nothing. That must be just a cut I had at home. I don't know. There's nothing. So, you're so scared about losing this job, all this opportunity, you're willing to say nothing. You say nothing, because that's where I was at. I was like, I'm not losing this chance. Like, this opportunity. So, so that's how that went. my first day at work, and and you put up with you get those meatheads. They're always just like shrimp on the Barbie. I'm cracking the Ozzy jokes all day. I'm like, man, I wish you could just hear yourself right now, like how stupid you sound. Like you really do sound like, I don't know. I'm so numb to it. I like the witty jokes, but those cliche ones are just go film yourself saying it and tell and come back to me and tell me how do you think you looked when you said that? Because that's how I see you.
How many times have you said it? Like shut the fuck up. How many times do you say shrimp in the Barbie?
Or just
one more time. I guess.
There's a guy. Man, there's some weird people out there, man. Guys that just think things are funny and they're really not. But yeah, it's some strange cats in the old construction game.
Oh man, they're fucking so weird.
Yeah, you meet all of you meet a lot of odd characters, that's for sure. But yeah, well, I finally after a few months I bought a car, so I had to adjust to driving on the wrong side of the road.
You mean the right side?
Well, on the opposite side to what I was used to.
You mean the correct side?
Sure, for North America, I guess. So yeah, I had to get used to driving on the opposite side of the road there. So that was a bit of a first thing I did. I bought the car, and the guy that sold me the car was like, "Are you sure you know how to drive this?" Like, "Oh yeah, I'm good, mate. No problem. I got this." I take off down the street, down the wrong side, the one-way lane, straight off the bat, out of the street. He calls me. I'm like, "Oh, I called. I said, hey man, did I what's wrong? Did I leave something?" He goes, "You're going the wrong way." I'm like, "Oh yeah." I turn around and it's like a sheet of ice, right? It's one of those streets that's never seen a plow, and it's just a sheet of ice. So I'm like, "Oh yeah, no worries." So I pass, "Cheers, mate. They're going this way." And, you just see himself shaking, closing his garage door, like.
What did you get? What kind of car?
A Ford Explorer.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah, it was fine. Fantastic car.
That's good for the trades as well.
It was good for what I needed. Edmonton winters. It did its job. But yeah, it's funny because the guy that sold me the car, after he kind of called me, he called me again about an hour later. I just wanted to see if he got home all right.
Really?
Yeah, super nice guy. Super nice guy from the north side, Edmonton, I think. I can't remember exactly, but I'm like, "Yeah, mate, got in. Cheers, thanks for the call." He goes, "Yeah, you scared the shit out of me." My wife got mad at me for not maybe driving with you, and then she could have picked you. So that's Edmonton. Man. People care about each other. They do, and they want to help, and they're just good people.
And
right?
they're rough and rugged. Like they got some grit too.
Plenty of sandpaper.
There's plenty of sandpaper.
Yeah.
They're not limp wristers. They at least got some they got some grit.
They got some grit. But they are there to help each other. They're very giving. They're very, accepting. They're very just good people. I don't know if it's because they live in one of the worst geographical locations on the planet that it's humbled them in such a way. But that's just the way they are. And they're proud. They own it. You know what I mean? It's great.
I'm from Berta. I love Berta.
I know, but look, like you build a house in Ecuador and you're here now and.
Still love Berta.
You just can't wait to get back to Edmonton. That's just how it is.
Edmonton has a thing. It has its own thing. Every place has a vibe, and Edmonton has a vibe, and the vibe is work. Get her done.
And if you're wired for that, then you're gonna thrive. You are going to thrive. If you got all those things I said, like desire and drive and a dream, Edmonton will make it happen.
So that brings me to my next point. When did you start to veer off on your own, and what made you stay? So you didn't get a 2-year visa in Canada. There's a reason what made you stay. What made you stay, and then what made you want to turn working for someone and then decide to work for yourself?
Yeah. All right. So we'll touch on the visa thing. Yeah, that was pretty touch and go. Right. So I was going 2 years, then you got to get a visa. It was really hard to get health insurance at the time. I had to kind of get it from Australia, but I had to be there to get it, and it was kind of getting really painful. I remember the one time I had applied for a visa. They accepted me. They just hadn't sent me my documents yet. All right, I got the email confirmation. Yes, you're good to go, no problem. And but my visa had run out. The time had run out for me to. But the time had run out for me to. I had to cross the border and come back. Otherwise, I'm illegal.
Okay.
So I went down to the border on a whim. You know, you got to drive down south. I don't know, Montana, I think is the state that you go to, Montana. And you turn around, you come back, right? And came back in, and, you know, the customs guys there, they came in and said, oh, look, I'm in this pickle. I got my health insurance. I have this confirmation that, yes, you've been accepted. You can have an extension on your stay in Canada. You can stay another 2 years. We do advise that typically our policy is come for 24 months, leave for 24 months, come for 24, and that's kind of how they like to do that. It's like, okay.
2 and 2?
2 years away, 2 years, yeah. Like, it's just, I don't think much about it. That's just what the rule, that's kind of what they like to do here, and that's what they emailed me anyway, so, okay, fair enough. But we're willing to give you another one. Please look into the avenue of permanent residency. I'm a guy, so I don't do that, of course.
Yeah.
But I get back over the border, and I ask the guy, and I'm like, hey, so I got this confirmation and I'm accepted. I just haven't got my documents. But without your documents, you're illegal. You can't be here. Are you working here? And you got to answer quickly, right? No. You say no, even though you got a full-time job.
Yeah.
But he knows. But you just try and say all the right things. And I said, look, I got my health insurance. I got this. I'm just waiting for it. I don't know why I haven't got it. He goes, well, in the system here, it says, yeah, you're waiting on your documents. And I went, well, look, you've been in Canada. And the guy says to me, he goes, well, you don't have the documents, so I can't give you your visa. He said, well, don't you think you've been here long enough? Don't you think it's time to go home? And I was like, pardon? So, you know, you're in this, you're ready to get confrontational, but you got to be careful because they can just kick you out, and everything you have is in Edmonton. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I need to get my stuff and leave. And he goes, yeah, you know, here, I'm going to give you 10 days to get out of the country. Fuck, I never left. I got my papers about 8 months later, and
you just never left.
Yeah, I never left.
You just went straight illegal.
What you do? I got an immigration lawyer. I ended up getting an immigration lawyer. I need a pardon, and then we got. And, you know, I told him the story, what was told to me. And of course, the Canadian government. Whoa, we don't want to hurt anyone. Like. Whoa, we can't believe a representative of ours said that to you. We're so sorry.
You're emotionally damaged.
So now they hired.
Can't sleep at night.
So my consultant, I had a pretty good immigration consultant. So she went to town, right? You know what I mean? She got working for me, and 8 months later, here's your 2 more years. Look, like we said, we're sorry for the delay. We're sorry this happened.
You're racist. Canada's racist.
I wasn't gonna go there, right? I wasn't gonna go there. But
look at my skin color. I'm Australian.
You know, I did think that was a pretty prickish thing for that guy to do. You know what I mean? Like that was a really odd thing for a customs guy to say.
Yeah.
But anyways, you move on. So, anyways, you know, time goes on, and I got my visa, and I'm like, one of the Christmases I hadn't been home for a few years, and
before you go on, what made you want to stay in Canada?
And this is where it all happens now. So I went home for Christmas.
Okay.
You know, all my buddies were home. Everyone's home for Christmas, right? Everyone takes time off over the summer at Christmas there. And, you know, I just had a blast surfing every day with the boys, you know, back to old ways, and perfect. I'm going to go back to Canada, grab my stuff, and I'm going to move home. I come back to Canada. I'm like, yeah, I'll put a couple weeks in. I'll put in my notice at work and then look at going home, right? You know, I kind of talk to my parents about it. Like, yeah, you know, we miss you. We wish you were living here and this and that.
Obviously.
You know, all you're doing is you're working a job. You're doing good, but you're just working a job. It's nothing, you know, things are picked up here, so you can probably have the same job here again. And so I go back to my boss, really good boss I had there, and I said, look, I think I'm going to move home. You know, going home for Christmas really got me a little bit homesick. And he goes, oh, okay, well, I don't really want to lose you. I'm sorry, you know, you feel that way. And I'm like, and then, you know, we left, and then a couple of days later, we had a couple of really good days, you know, like really productive days, and that's where I think that's where he hit his, you know, the epiphany came to him, and he asked me, he said, Dave, how would you like to own your own company and work for yourself? I went, well, the concept of doing that was never I never thought it was possible for me, right? Like I'd always just worked for people, and I didn't think, obviously you dream of being able to do that. Oh, well, let me think about that, and that was for me to stay, right? That's what he was offering for me to stay.
That was his leverage tool.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'll set you up with your own company. I'll buy a machine, and you can rent to own it from me, pay it off as time goes on.
Really?
Yeah, this
So
is
he
offer,
really
and I was
wanted
like,
you.
oh, yeah, he wanted me to stay. Oh, okay. We had a really good year, right? Like he was making good money, right? I was running his operation at this time. He didn't have to be there that much. He's an older guy, right? He's in his 50s, and he didn't, he didn't want to. He didn't have that. He worked hard. He's from Manitoba, but he just didn't have that jam anymore, right? And he's a family man, so I kind of ran his operation through the day for the most part, so he could do whatever else he did. And he offered me that, so I go home that night, call my dad, and say, my dad, Dad, Milo's offered me this, and he said, well, this is probably the toughest thing I can ever say to you, son. Don't come home.
Really?
And I was like, wow, whoa. It's like, you will not get this opportunity here. He said, it pains me, but don't come home.
Wow, and then Dad.
So I got Dad's blessing. Mom understood. We all knew the task at hand.
But Dad's saying that.
But Dad said, don't come home.
Holy shit. Mm-hmm. I think you said it. Dads always want to see you do better.
Dad's the only person that wants to see you be better than he is. I don't know where I heard that, but I heard it just recently. And I was like, yeah, that's probably true. Now I got 2 sons. Yeah. The only person you want to see better than you.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, he gave me the opportunity to build a house on my own, and I paid him a commission. He took his finder's fee, and I made a ton of money. He kept making money. I kept making money. We did jobs together. Things were rolling good.
So how old were you when this transition started? So you would have been 25?
Call it 26, I think.
26.
Probably around 26. I just got a sole proprietor number. We just set up really quickly at the registry in the bank.
So you were in the wing it stage.
He was a good coach. I had an awesome coach.
Because just on my end, when you start a business, you're like a child again. You have no idea what's going on.
Oh man, the first time, but you got drive. You know what I mean? When you appreciate your opportunity and what the people that have given you the opportunity to do,
you'll make it happen. But you
don't want to let them down, right?
Yeah, but it's so chaotic because you're just like, okay, I got this, now what? And it's like, I got this, okay, now what? And it's just like, you need that. It's like, okay, I got that now, and it's just like, it's a lot of moving parts that you've never even dealt with. And it's quite simple after you look at it, but once you're like going through it and you just don't know, it's quite interesting, right?
I don't think you don't start to understand business properly, I don't think, till you've just about lost everything.
Right.
That's when shit really hits the fan. And that's when you start learning. But yeah, so he started giving me a couple houses here and there, and then I'd go help him, get back on the wages, invoice him, back to doing houses, and he just, it was a good deal. And then we got into a situation where we'd go into a full subdivision. It'd be just me and him in there, just framing away, working away, just doing good.
Just the two of you?
Well, he had his crew, and then I'd have my crew, right? But I did it all through him still. So he still made his commission, and that was part of him setting me up. So I was happy with it. I was making the best money of my life. I was happy. He was there for any more guidance I needed. It was really good, and the builder paid really fair at the time, right? Like, it was really fair pay. So I was in no position to change anything. I could not have been in a better position.
So you were loving life.
It was good.
Life
was good.
The vehicles, you had your own house.
We bought a house. It gave me the opportunity to buy a house, save up for a down payment, buy a house. Like, I came to Canada somewhere around $15,000 in debt. And you know what I mean? Like you know, I made a bad call on a car that I had, right? So I had to pay that off and all that. But you know, you make, you know, you figure it out as you go, right? I don't know how else to put it.
So that's fucking badass. So and then that's really cool. So that was his Milo, was his name.
Yeah, really good guy. You know, things ended badly, but
Why
it's hard to put friendship and business together.
Why did they end badly? Because you wanted to go your own way?
No. The company that we're working for in that subdivision, they went into receivership, and the bank took it all. Also took 3 jobs that I'd already completed of my money away, and because it went to him,
like to Milo?
Yeah, because the money funneled through him. My only way of getting money was to see if he could get the money to give me.
And he couldn't get it?
He couldn't get it. So, you know, at that point, I mean, it's somewhere around $90,000
in debt.
But I'm young. That's a lot of money.
It's an insane
It's a ton of money, right? Like, especially at that point, it's a lot of money, and I needed it. I'd already paid out wages. I was, you know, it left me. No, yeah, like nails and just labor. But I'd done 3 jobs, 3 duplexes, you know, and I hadn't seen my money, and I took legal advice, and they said, look, you have to put. I looked back, and my lawyer seen me when I came in and just saw dollar signs.
Oh no!
So he told me to go after him, make sure if he ever got any money, I could get my money. You know what I mean? And I spoke to a few people, and you know, they kind of said the same thing, and I don't think they understood the relationship I had with this man. And you know, I was just young. I had a lot of money in a bad spot, and I lawyered up.
Against Milo?
Against Milo. Well, I couldn't get my money from, you know, the company that went into receivership. So, you know, I had to try and get my money from somewhere.
Right.
And, you know what I mean? Like in case he got anything, right? I had to put it legally binding that if he got paid for any of the services I did, that money would come to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that sewered the whole relationship. You know, I look back, and too bad you don't get second chances, but I wish I'd never done it. I wish I'd never took the advice I took, because I wasn't going to do it.
Right.
But I took the advice, and I did it, and I got nothing. The lawyer actually made more money than I did.
So you lost money?
I asked, he said I can't give you because the contract was through him, the builder, and the builder went into receivership. Well, my contract was with him. So I went after my money. He said, look, all I can give you is this amount, or I'm going to fold up my doors, and then you won't get anything anyway. I'll give you, I want to say $12,000. I really didn't care, because in the end, I didn't get my money. I got like $4,000, and my lawyer got $8,000.
He doubled?
Oh yeah, it was absolutely bogus. Like, absolutely bogus. Like, you know, I suggest anyone that ever, like, lawyers up for anything, just do your due diligence.
Right.
Do your due diligence. Don't just take their advice. You know, I was just a money grab.
So, did the guy go under, or did Milo still?
No, he didn't. He just stroked a check for $12,000. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, so cool. I just ruined a relationship with this man that forwarded me this opportunity with bad legal advice, and that's where it left. So
that sucks.
Yeah, I should have just done nothing. So
it's $4,000 as fuck all.
Yeah, like it was nothing. It's like I wanted my $90,000. You know, I was hurt. I was in a bad financial position because of it, and it wasn't his fault. So it really wasn't his fault. You know what I mean? But
because he got fucked over too.
He did. He did 2 or 3 jobs too. Like, he got fucked over $90,000 probably too. I think his was less. I think he had 2 jobs owing. I had 3.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, he got fucked over too. So that was really bad. That was some bad advice I got. But I have to live with that. You know, that's a decision I made, and you move on, right? You learn. You learn business mostly through
The worst part.
The worst part of business.
So, with the 90 grand, you're now shit out of luck.
Mm-hmm.
You got nothing.
Chasing invoices now. I'm invoice chasing, so I'm just bulk building, going hard, working weekends, trying to get something back in the bank so I don't have to fold my company.
So this 90 grand is owed to the bank?
No, this 90 grand was what should have came to me for my services, because I did the job. I did essentially, it was like 3 jobs worth around $30,000 each. Right, give or take, And because that company went into receivership, they didn't pay me for any of them.
Right.
I had such a good, well-oiled machine going that I could get that many jobs in before I would submit payment.
Right.
Like we were
efficient.
Oh, we're absolutely my company. I don't know if it's ever ran as well as it did at that moment.
So, how much were you in debt?
No debt.
You had no debt.
I had no debt, but I didn't receive that. I'd already paid out my wages.
So you have zero money.
Essentially, my operating money was gone.
Right. So you're basically starting fresh.
Yep.
Right out the bank.
Yeah. After a lot of hard work.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So that happened. So that relationship went to the wayside, and
Sucks.
yeah. We got married, and he's the kind of guy I would have liked him. He would have sat at the table with my parents.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's where that would have been. My dad would have shook his hand, like, thank you for looking after my kid.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how that was. So
that sucks.
Yeah, that was
terrible.
Bad. It was awful. It was awful. But you have to live with your decisions.
Right.
And learn from it. If you don't learn from it, then what are you doing?
Right. Yeah. Because
so
a lot of times I know it's just better doing nothing. Most of the time, it's just best doing nothing.
When you're making big decisions, pause and think and give it some real thought.
Yeah.
Don't react to a situation. So
Brutal.
yes, that's where that went. So now I'm on my own.
So
That's how that went. So that severed the tie of having basically been obligated to work for him, right?
So training wheels are off.
You're in deep water now. Swim.
Right.
Sink or swim. Oh, get those arms paddling, man. It's go time.
Doggy paddle.
It is. Let's see what you're made of. You know what I mean? Like, how what are you willing to do to get to where you need to get to? And I phoned up another guy who had approached us on a job site that did a similar thing to what my boss did, and for me to just quickly get back into the game, I went and worked for him.
So you were then subcontracting off him now?
Yeah, another guy named Dean. And I still talk to Dean to this day. He's in Edmonton doing his thing. I'm here. We talk every once in a while. But he was good enough to give me a job to get me out of trouble and quick pay and all that stuff. And he takes his commission and all that. And I worked with him, and he was good to me. Dean was good to me. I can't. Ultimately you want to get away from paying a third party guy, right? You want to start getting your own business going and getting your own clientele, right? That's the whole goal. But you got to show loyalty, because even now I could go back to Edmonton. Like say we decided we want to go back to Edmonton. I could call Dean. He'd be like, you know what? Come here Monday. Start here Monday. You know what I mean? I think he'd still do that for me.
Right.
I never. I never took his clients, even when they he had clients that would approach me, hey, would you like to work for us, not through him? I'd be like, no, you don't do that.
Right.
You don't do that, because I might need, you just don't. It's bad relationship building. You even in the sense, I guess he would be my competitor, but he was good to me.
Right.
You
never know when you're gonna. It's amazing when people are good to you, and obviously they get something out of it, but you never know when that person is going to be, you're going to need him.
I made him a lot of money, I think, and he helped me by giving me business, you know what I mean? So that happened, and then I was working for him for a while there, and I had a couple clients I had picked up along the way of my own, so I had a big enough crew that I could kind of work here and work for him still, and and he always looked after me, so I never, we had a pretty good friendship, we were pretty good.
So Now after Milo, you're with Dean now. You're starting to get your own work.
Yeah.
Now you're how old? 28, 29, 30?
I'm getting into my 30s now.
So-
I'm into my 30s. So
You did your own thing with Milo for 3 years? Give or take?
2-3 years, something like that, and then went to Dean for 3, maybe 4 years. I was with Dean, I think.
And that's when you started grabbing your own clients.
Yeah, and in that time, my own clientele started building.
Right. And your business, then you started becoming understanding of business.
Yeah. You know, it's the success rate for people that just, rush to start their own business without doing the due diligence and learning their craft and going through the good and bad, the success rate's not very high.
Right.
You need to go through the bad to really grasp things, you know what I mean? Like the importance
The
of
bad is the most
the importance of your paperwork being tight, the importance of contracts, you understanding contracts and every detail in it. Don't spend all your money. I got caught up. You're in Alberta. I went and bought the $100,000 truck. I had the big house on the south side of Edmonton. All I had was a ton of debt. Doesn't make
Berta,
any.
baby.
Yeah.
Berta, baby.
But at the end of the day, it didn't really make you any happy. All you had is stuff.
Just stuff.
Just get as much working capital behind you as you can.
Right.
That's what I learned from everything.
So like you bought all this, like buying all this stuff. It didn't like you weren't like, hell yeah.
Well, I love driving my beautiful truck. Yeah, I loved it, but I actually have a truck that's way less money than that, and I'm happier with it. You know what I mean? So
Really?
So I didn't find happiness in that. We had the big house and
You like
a
it?
lot of house for 2 people.
Right.
It's kind of weird having to scream out across your house just to get, what do you want for dinner? What? You know what I mean? Like, you almost need the intercom, right? So so that wasn't great. So,
Right.
The whole big house thing. It's a lot of cleaning. It's a lot of housework.
Yeah, man.
It's a lot of everything, right? So so that wasn't no happiness there. So I was like, okay, well, if you're searching for fulfillment, you got to find out what that is.
Okay, that's an interesting question. You're searching for fulfillment. What was that for Dave Newton?
I didn't know.
Do you
So
know
if you-
now?
No,
You don't know what's fulfilling in your life?
I have children. I'm very full and wholesome when I'm with my children. So I'm very, with my family. I'm in a place right now where I feel very, there's fulfillment there. But as far as career and that, I don't know, man. I leave the door open.
But you don't like get
I put myself in a position where any door that opens, I have the opportunity to take it. Whether it's something totally left field of what I do. That's why I the idea of working capital, having money in the bank, gives you that.
So, because it's quite interesting. So, with Milo, now with Dean, now you're on your own. You decide to make the big move. I remember I was there because we just finished the soccer tournament in Kamloops. Me, you, and Handsome Al, we're driving back. We're stopping in Salmon Arm. We're having a nice, wonderful swim. We're drinking some beers.
But we're all used to living in Edmonton, right? So
It's
the aura of being in a lake that's
incredible.
beautiful as this was,
incredible. But I remember you saying, it's like, I'm going to move out here. I'm going to do it. You just got married,
yeah.
right? And I'm sure that's another reason why you stayed in Canada.
Oh yeah. I don't want to. Yeah, let's not discount. But I hadn't. I'd only just met Elise, I think, when Milo had kind of offered me the offer, right? I hadn't quite met Elise. She hadn't been to Australia. I'd just gone to Australia and came back. So it progressed over, the 6 months or 8 months till I met her, right? And then I didn't really get into my full
Courtship.
own company
Right.
till I'd met, I kind of, he asked me in January, would I be interested in this? And I said yes. And he said, well, let's work towards growing that for you. So it was basically October, so 7-8 months later, that maybe 9 months later, and I'd met Elise, and that's when it really started to, started to take off. To take off. So I'd met Elise, and I was part-time working for Milo, part-time doing a lot of my stuff through him, and then I met her, right? So once I met her, now I have a partner, and I wanted to. It's easier to stay even more, right?
Right.
Like a bad day at work when you're like, hell with this, I'll go back to Australia. I don't want to deal with this. Oh, now I got a girlfriend. So, okay, we're good. We'll deal with the bad day like normal bad days get dealt with. And I have a girlfriend, so I'm staying.
Right. So, and then, because, now you're in the lake. You said, I'm going to move to Kelowna. I want to go to Kelowna. And then you did it. Like, there's just a few people, like, in my experience of life, very few people that are men of the word, Most guys are just talkers. Most human beings, not just men, women, they just talk. But when you actually grab your fucking cojones and you actually project a vision, you say, I'm gonna go do this. And this isn't an easy thing. Like, sure, it's packing up your bags, but moving this and then starting a business here. Here in Kelowna. Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy.
No.
Right. So, first of all, I'm sure I know the answer, but why you want to move to Kelowna? And then coming here, what is the story of how you, because you were doing right in Edmonton?
We were okay in Edmonton. Prices for work were low.
Right.
So it was hard.
Right.
But everyone was doing hard.
But coming here, it seems like, it's like when you want success, it just escalates to another proportion. And it just seems sometimes you just get waves. You get these moments in time where it's just you can't skip a beat.
I take signs, things that happen.
Right.
It's a weird thing because I'm not spiritual. I'm not anything like that, but I take signs. So, prices were bad in Edmonton. Even through the start of COVID, when everyone was busier than they've ever been, prices still stayed low. The builders were good at keeping us down. You know what I mean? So we weren't turning over a great profit, enough to pay the bills and all that. But it wasn't, for the effort you put in, you should have been doing better.
And the risk you're taking.
And the risk you take, yeah. Like, so, basically you make no money over the winter just because of the slowdown of production, right? You're just basically keeping your guys going, and then in the summer, it's go time. Right. But if it rains a lot, well, now you're losing money again, right? But basically... you start to get fed up with what you're doing. You start thinking, what else could I do that's kind of better than this, that I could have more success at, right? Like you start thinking,
right?
Yeah, what else could I try doing? And you're not having a great time in your business. You're kind of trying to figure out what could you do to better your life and your business. And came home I think we're working close to home, so I came home at coffee break or lunch, and my wife, she was working from home. Because of COVID there, and she goes, hey, I just got an email from a cousin. He asked, would Dave be interested in doing a job in Merritt? I'm like, Merritt? Never heard of Merritt. Where's Merritt? Oh, British Columbia. Yeah, I am interested in doing that. And he goes, okay, do you want to come out and see me? And she emailed back, yes. He goes, okay, I'll get in contact with you. Can you get me a price for this? So I got a price package together and I sent it in to him. He goes, I can make this work. I think if you're around that number, I can easily make that work. I'm like, oh, you fucking beauty. You beauty. He goes, you want to come out and see me and we'll go through this? He said, I'll make it work. He said, I'm sick of the trades out here. They're just, dragging me over the coals here right now. I need to make some money on some jobs in these trades. They don't want to go to Merritt from Kelowna. That's about an hour and 15, hour and a half in the winter.
Right.
And he said, I'm going to award you this job, And anyways, I came out there, we had lunch, and, we went for a tour of the project, where it was and what I was going to do. I was like, the hair on your body is standing up at all times now because of the idea of doing something different, doing a big job as a fire hall in Merritt. And so...
is this the biggest job you've done?
It may be, yeah, I think it was the biggest job I'd done at the time.
Right.
At the time. So it was quite a complex job as a fire hall, right? So there's all this engineering and things you had to look out for. And anyway, so I went out there, that was early in the spring, like in the spring sometime there. And the job wasn't slated to start till October, right? So I got a whole summer in Edmonton of just, it's giddy. I'm getting excited to go do this job.
Right.
And you know, I started thinking like, oh, I really don't like living in it. You know, I really don't like my situation in Edmonton right now with work. And like, I'm gonna find out what other builders are out there. You know, I'm talking to my wife's cousin, and then I'm like, what, are there other builders out here? He goes, oh man, it's busy out here. I'm like, is that right? He goes, oh yeah, like everyone's busy. House builders. I got buddies working here. You want their contacts? They're desperate for framing. I'm like, huh. So this was the best kept secret in the framing community, that Kelowna was going gangbusters and they're making ridiculous money while we're all in the prairies, you know, getting our asses handed out, like absolutely just getting bent over on the prairies. And it's like, but Kelowna, their prices are high, their jobs are fantastic. You got a lake, you really good. So I'm like, I'm gonna start contacting some builders out in Kelowna, and I started Googling which builders are in Edmonton and have companies in Kelowna, and quite a few, as it would appear. Some of my current clientele, actually.
Right.
So I came out and I remember one builder there. I drove all the way from Edmonton to Kelowna just to have a cup of coffee with him.
Whoa.
Just to sit down.
Wait a second. So you drove 12 hours? A cup of coffee.
I had set my sights on living in Kelowna because you and I, like you said, after that soccer tournament,
No.
I said I was moving.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. I'll tell you exactly what happened. Me and Al had the perfect day. And what we did while you were stuck in traffic, me and Al went to this incredible vineyard, had charcuterie. I read a book. He read a book. We conversed about rich literature. We drank wine. And then we decided to go to this lake, exactly this lake. We swam out on the dock. Then we took our perfect picture. Well, all you sons of bitches were in a smelly, soccer sweaty vehicle. And where me and Al just had the most incredible day ever. It was amazing. It was actually, it's one of my highlights of my life.
Well, I got to share the morning of that with you.
You did. You got to share the moment, and then me and Al just projected that, and it just seems you're such a spiteful, angry person that you just couldn't. Like, it's still. You cannot allow it today that we had the perfect day, and that you missed it. So to outdo us, because you're a cunt.
A little vindictive. I'm a little vindictive.
You know, well, maybe I'll just move out here. Like, you guys want to have your charcuterie? Have your charcuterie.
I'm gonna have charcuterie every day.
Yeah, I'm gonna have it.
I'm gonna have the lake every day.
Every day.
And what did we do your first night we got here?
Yeah, we went on the lake and we wakeboarded. It was pretty sick.
We went out on the boat. And then
we drank
what
beer.
do I do nearly every afternoon? We go on the boat.
I don't even want to know. It's so
we
stupid.
drink wine or beer and we go out on the lake and we go on the boat.
It's pretty sick.
Some days we might play golf.
You're shit.
It don't matter. You're not doing it. You're not doing it, and I am. Oh, jeez. Yeah, but.
Yeah, you're a spiteful man.
You're a
spiteful man.
You know what? I should thank you for motivating me.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the drive to be like, I won't be outdone.
Yeah.
No, not by your charcuterie platter. You think you're living? I'll show you living.
I'll show you a life.
I'll show you a life. That's right. But yeah, it was. So I came out here probably 12 times through the summer.
Right.
Just to have a cup of coffee with people. I'd drive out early in the morning, try and get here by lunch or midday. Sometimes they'd cancel the coffee.
No.
They got busy, and I'd be like, okay, who else can I call to have a coffee with to see if I can earn their business? You know what I mean?
You wanted it.
So I wanted it, but I need to make sure the idea of living in Kelowna was real. And
what does that mean?
If I was going to be able to run a business here.
Right.
So they do things a lot differently, right? In Edmonton, you can basically call up any builder and they just have foundations ready for you. Yep, start Monday. You know, if you're a little slow finishing up one job to start the next, they'll give it to someone else, but you'll have another one to go to. You know what I mean? Right. It's just so much turnover there. But here it's a little more methodical. It's a lot of custom homes, so you give them a price and then there's like a 3-4 month wait. So the first 3-4 months of being out here, you got nothing. Because that's how long it takes from the time they sign a contract to the time they get going on the build. Yeah, so it gets so a small crew is vital here. You don't want too much overhead and you don't want guys standing around. And then creating relationships with your competitors is important because, you know, they might be busy and you might not, you know, you might be waiting for your job to start because they're a bit slow starting, so you need to go work with them.
Contract off a contract.
Yes, so it's very important to have a good relationship with your competitors. Like, don't look at them as competition. Look at them as just someone that you can work with.
Right.
You know, and then, you know, if you both happen to be tendering the same job, then, well, let the one with the best tender win, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, be respectful. And first thing I did, and this actually goes a long way, I don't know why, it's a little ignorant, I think, at this place, but you get a 250 number. So I just scrapped my 780 number. I kind of did keep it, but I had to start a new number. So everyone I met here, all my business, you're local.
I could
Local means a lot to the people here.
Yeah.
As you found out with your windows, right?
I came here and I had people not be, they were angry that I was trying to wash their windows because I was not local. And the thing is jobs are so scarce here. Like, they actually need people because there's so many restaurants that are understaffed.
They are desperate for labor, and inflation killed cheap labor's ability to be here.
Right? So it's just, it's such a strange position.
Like,
that's another story.
Well, that's the thing, right? In Kelowna, $1 million gets you a middle-class house. And
No,
I mean
it
middle.
doesn't
And
even
no,
get
I don't even know it does, but $1 million in Edmonton, you're living in the nicest neighborhood in one of the nicest houses.
Damn right.
Kelowna, 1.5 is probably about your standard home.
Yeah.
And you probably have a rent helper in your basement in a suite.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so a lot of people that in low-paying jobs have a hard time living here. But yeah, so I drove out here a lot to meet clients, and
Wheeling and dealing.
and eventually, you know, the summer goes by and the job out in Merritt starts. So I come out and we do that job. We do a really good job. They're happy with us. We're ahead of schedule. You know, we came with that Alberta work ethic that, you know, long days, made it happen, got them under schedule. You know, we beat the schedule, so they were ahead, and everyone's happy, right? And then, you know, you start working for your other clients. You start asking around, hey, can I do odd jobs for you? And you do that. I had a couple guys come out and work with me here, and they just had to keep them busy, right? I made good money on that job, so I could float myself through. But had to keep my employees that wanted to move out here as well.
Right.
You know, they didn't feel like Edmonton was doing much for them either. So they at the time, so they came out with me, and I moved them out here. You know, to work with me and be out here with me, and yeah. And the next thing you know, I met another guy that wanted to do the whole third-party thing where he finds the work and you perform the work and he takes a cut. Wanted to do that, and yeah, I wasn't really ready to go back down that avenue again. So I actually got invited to tender the same job that he'd asked me to give him a price for.
Really?
I was like, well, sorry, man, I can get this job without you. You know, like I don't know you. You know, I don't owe you anything. I've never worked with you. You never helped me out. So I got the job, and it was a company from Edmonton that was doing this job. So yeah, I got to
Which job was this one?
Carrington.
Carrington.
Yeah, the townhouses. Yeah, I got a townhouse project, and they said, yeah, you got all 52 units. I was like, oh, wow. That's a big job. That's about a one-year job.
This is your next biggest job.
Yeah, so now this is
So
like...
you're getting big job after big job.
Now I get this whole subdivision. They're like, yeah, you need to get a lot more guys now. So I get some more guys, and now I got like a real crew running, kind of similar to what I had in Edmonton. Then I called Tyler to come out here, a guy that I worked with in Edmonton. He came out with his crew, and then he fell in love with the place. And
Okay, I have a question. When it starts getting so big, were you like, holy crap, like I am over my head here, or were you like, I just need more framers?
I need more framers.
And then you made calls.
You work the phones, man. Work the phones. Work the friendships. You know, start seeing how you can.
So he came out.
How you can get people, like what you know. At the end of the day, people need to know numbers. They need to know what the money is. So you need to basically put a package together. Hey, this is what I can do for you. Will you come out here and do it? Right. And the Okanogan, if you've already got work lined up for them, if they don't have to do the heavy lifting, like I spent that entire summer driving back and forth from here, having a single cup of coffee with someone. Like I put a lot of legwork into this, right? Like there's a lot of long days driving, and you know, you want to get anywhere in life, you got to put the time in, right? You got to get after it.
You gotta hustle, man.
You got to hustle, and that was
you
my
gotta
hustle.
Want it.
I wanted it. And you know, my wife was excited for to move out here with me. You know, she was ready to check out something different. We both loved it. We did a vacation out here, so the decision wasn't that hard.
No.
Just turned into a reality was the more surprising thing, right? You know, people come out to BC for a week, a year, and it was like this.
Everyone says the same thing.
Oh, I was in Cologne. It was fantastic.
Come out here.
And I was like, I don't want to just come out here. I want to be there.
Yeah.
That's life. I want that to be my life every day. Because in the 11 years I was in Edmonton, I lost sight that this was my life up until I moved to Alberta.
And then I came to work.
And then I got to work.
You went to work.
I went to work.
Alberta is work.
Yeah.
But
now I can work here and have this. So I found balance.
I 100% agree because I just built my dream house in Ecuador. Alberta to me is work. I work and then I take my money and I spend it somewhere else. So now you make your money and you spend it in your home now. And I think that's so much more logical.
Yeah.
Just living, you got the balance.
Yeah. Yeah, I found balance.
So you got this huge job. You bring in Tyler. So now you're starting to do big projects. So now you're becoming a guy that actually is running big shows.
Yeah, so you get on the radar. You know, other companies start driving past your job site. Who's doing this? Hey, there's a lack of this trade. Who's big enough to do a job this size and is in town? I already have a couple people, but they're not making me very happy. I want to know who this guy is. That this guy's using. So you put a sign up, and it's almost within a couple of days. The sign goes up. Project managers are calling you. You know, they've been waiting to see a sign, a number, because they don't like really coming to your site and asking. Some will. Some are pretty bold. They'll come up and walk onto a site that's another company's, and they'll be like,
cold call.
Yeah, or they'll just walk onto a site and say, hey, I want to see who you are, and would you be interested in doing some work for us? And I'm like, yeah, give me your number. You know, you can't be on this site because they're probably going to run you off because you're their competitor. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll give you a call. So I did that, and then it escalated into I did that townhouse site, and then another guy that wanted to do a townhouse site saw me doing that one. He's like, oh, hey, could you come do ours next? Oh, another full year's worth of work.
Oh my God.
Oh, you beauty, you betcha.
So
yeah.
When you started doing this, did you start like feeling that you found purpose? Like when you started hitting these home runs, you started following the signs, and you're just like, okay, this is where I'm designed, or you're just like, you know what, like, I'd still rather be an Ozzy, I still rather be, in Edmonton, like, I don't know, like, obviously not Edmonton, but you know what I mean? Like, when you started hitting these big jobs, you started becoming the big swinging dick on site.
Well, you don't let your ego get in the way. Don't ever get ahead of yourself.
Right.
Because it'll bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
You know, it'll bite you in the ass. So you got to put your ego aside. You got to be willing to listen to people.
Yeah.
And you know, your side's not the only side. You know what I mean? It's weird just kind of how something so big can grow from such a small deed as well. You can do the littlest thing for someone. Yeah. And they don't forget you, and the next thing you know, like that big project you saw. Yeah. That you've been working with me on. You know how I got that project? Man, I got a phone call from a guy from the company there. He asked me, "Hey Dave, this is could you come and tend to this project for me down in Summerland?" So it's an hour and 15 minutes away. I was like, I don't really want to drive that far to go do this big project. And then these other guys called me to do one, literally a minute from my house. So I was like, I don't think I can justify going all the way down to Summerland from North Kelowna to when I got one so close to my house. So, hey, sorry, I won't be able to do that job for you. No problem. So he calls me up one day there. I'm finishing up that other project. He goes, "Hey Dave, look, I haven't spoke with you since you asked me if I could work for you." He goes, "Oh man, I'm desperate. I need help to get this done. I'm in over my head. I don't have framers. No one wants to work it." I said, "You know what? I got some sub crews that have been working for me on my other projects that are shaking loose here. Let's get in a boardroom and have a meeting and see what you can do for us. I don't want any part of the money. I'll liaise on this meeting. If they want to come work for you, you offer them the money and go do that.
Right.
So we did that. You know, Tyler, Andrew, Matt, we all sat down with Adam, the project manager, and his team, and hey guys, look, I got a bunch of this work I need it done. Here's what I'm willing to pay, and the pay was good. And they're like, okay, Dave, what can we do for you? You just look after them. I'm good. They're going to invoice you. If you're happy, I'm your client. You're my client still. Oh yeah, no problem. We really appreciate it. The boys went in there and just kicked ass. They just crushed this project.
Awesome.
Got everyone all happy again. It was all happening. And I started this job for Elisa's cousin's company again, you know, because I formed that relationship with them when I first came out here. And there's a daycare, and I was working away on the daycare, and I got this call one day. It's like, hey, my name's Daryl. I got your number from Adam. He said you're working up near where I'm at here, and he said you might be able to, if you got time, give me a hand with something. I said, oh, okay, what do you need, Daryl? And he goes, hey, look, and I knew they're a big company. He goes, yeah, I need this. We made this window mock-up. Like they're in an old Costco building, and they needed a mock-up for waterproofing for windows or something. Would you be able to come down and give me a hand with them? Like, yeah, no problem. I go down there, and a couple of suits are there, and a couple of guys in suits, and there's construction manager, blah, blah, blah. These people are there. I'm like, I don't know who they are. And I go down there, I kind of do this mock-up of how to prepare a window for the building, and I put the window in, and it's like, okay, we're good. He goes, yeah, I owe you some beer. What can I get for you? We're good, Daryl. You know, if you need a little bit of help, we're good. Shook hands. I leave. About 2 weeks later, I get another call. Hey, it's Daryl again. Hey, Daryl, what can I do for you? He goes, hey, man, like, are you interested in doing, like, condos? Yes, Daryl, I am actually interested in condos.
See, it's funny.
And he goes, yeah. And he goes, do you have the manpower for it? I can make it work. He goes, okay, because I know you got guys that work with you down in working for Adam, his co-worker, down there, and you know we're having the conversation about how that was, you know, how can we kind of get you to have enough guys to help on this condo, to do this condo, plus not disturb the help you've given them down there. And I'm like, no problem. We got this. Don't worry about it. I got guys. I had not enough guys at the time, but I am not about to tell you this. This is another opportunity of a lifetime. So that small little gesture I did for him, putting that window in, now just landed me a $1.6 million contract for a project. You know what I mean? So
it's amazing the power of giving, eh?
You got to give first in order to receive graciously.
It's insane. You know what I do when I for window washing? You know what I would do? I'd wash someone else's windows for free. And you know what happened? Almost always, good things would happen after.
How do I charge someone just for doing such a small thing?
Right.
Well, I'm not going to do that. I just suggest, hey, we're good. Keep it business. We're gone.
Yeah. Cool.
And now, see, so I partnered up on a joint venture, and not everyone knows how this all unfolded. They just think, I don't know, it's kind of weird. People, when you start getting a little bit of success and you start getting in with these bigger companies, they think it just happened by luck. No. I gave first, and then I received. Then they received. So, absolutely, man. My kid was 1 year old, and I worked every Saturday. 6 days a week for. I probably would have worked some 7 days a week if they weren't a religious company and had the site shut down on Sundays. So I worked as much as I possibly could have there, with a 1 year old at home. Wife's getting mad because I'm not home, and you know what I mean. Like, she was good. She really held it all together while I did this, even though I probably shouldn't have, because I don't think it benefited us whatsoever. But but that condo there, that came from putting a window in.
It's crazy.
They're just giving them 30 minutes of my day turned into that, which turned into my next project that's even bigger and more wow than that one.
Right.
And it's straight down the lake. Like, you'll be able to see it when it's probably done from here. Like, it's straight down the lake. It's a giant condo building, 6 stories, 2 buildings side by side that look straight over the lake.
Sick.
You know, so it turned into that. It didn't just turn into that. It now has me on the list to bid for other giant projects they have coming up.
Which is absolutely incredible. And the thing is, like,
Came from one window.
I worked on your site, and clearly, I was oil and gas for 10 years. I came onto your site, window washer now, but just being on there, the content you're doing now is huge, and it's so amazing when you see a guy that you knew you're playing soccer with. He's doing, yeah, man, I built a house here and there, blah, blah, blah. You're building a house, framing in Edmonton. And you come on to this site and you're just like, this is a huge project. This is extremely complex.
Yep.
There's trusses coming up. They're all numbered and coded perfectly to do this perfectly. Like, blow my mind about everything. And it's just, like, you're doing big projects with a lot of manpower, with a lot of moving parts. It's absolutely incredible. Like, to me, it's incredible, right? Because I know, working in oil and gas, I work with some of my good friends are tool pushers, and the way they run their show, it's just like, man, there's so many moving parts. No one even has an idea of the responsibility that's involved. No one, you don't have even an idea there's stress involved.
Mm-hmm.
And like starting a company, it's just like there's stress starting a company because you got to find your own stuff, but then you got to. Clearly, now that you do good work, you don't have to find your own stuff, but you still have to manage tens of people.
Yep.
Tens of people, and then you have to manage lower deck. I get upper management, And there's big egos, probably.
There's big egos.
Big egos.
And you absolutely need to learn how to talk them into to understanding that not everyone learns the same. Not everyone... So I can't talk to this guy the same way I talk to that guy, the way I talk that way.
No.
You need to understand that and learn how to extract the most you can get out of your guys.
Right.
Some guys need a swift kick in the ass. Some guys need a pat on the back. Some guys need a hug. You know what I mean? Like you just got to know when to push the buttons, and don't get too high and don't get too low. Just even the client, when you're mad with the client, just you got to take a breath. You come in there, into that office hot. If you're coming in hot, 100% of the time, you're not going to walk out of there with the answers you want or what you went in there to get.
Right.
You have to come in calm, collect, be a matter of fact, and get to the point.
100%.
And you typically get a lot more out of it than that.
It's hard to do that. So you're doing this amazing project in Kelowna. You got another couple of projects on the go, but from a guy that you're from Australia, you come to Canada, you come from Canada, you're not even a citizen here, you work your way up, now you're doing these big projects, meaning of life, you're saying is family's king. But when you look at the vision, because obviously you're a visionary because you had a vision to come to Canada, the vision came, thank God, to your dad, hey, start the business, and the business came to, I want to go to Kelowna. You're managing your world, you're doing things. Where's the future of Dave Newton? Where are you going to take the family? Where are you going to, expand?
I've had better, thoughts. So I'd love to incorporate. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna do this, because when I say I'm gonna do something, I do it.
Right.
So I'm not gonna say I'm gonna do it.
It's on video. So
yeah. So you know me, when I say I'm gonna do it, I do it. I like the idea of taking some Canadian concepts to Australia and implementing them.
And what would that be?
The style of house you build, because where I grew up, that plus just the complex, putting a lot of doors and a lot of residences into a small space, but by giving them not a condo building, you can build a condo building, it's apartments everywhere, right? But townhouses, the townhouse concept that we have here, I'd like to take that there, because they don't like giving up a lot of land there. People like to have big backyards. They like to have property. We're all very outdoorsy people in Australia, right? No real winter there, unless you live in the mountains sort of thing. But, where I grew up, there's no real winter. But they're always getting the pressure to open up more subdivisions. And they don't want to just keep making these little, beautiful little towns scenic. They don't want to keep growing them. They'd rather... But, they're under the pressure from the state government to get more residences into each town. So what better than I can take 50 acres and put 50 houses, or I can take 5 acres and put 50 residences.
Right.
It's the same thing in the eyes of the government. You got 50 more doors, you got 50 more front doors in 5 acres where you don't disrupt this beautiful little town and what the locals there really like. But at the same time, it's more affordable living that way, because we all know it's getting harder to buy a house, your first home. If you haven't bought it your first home by now, I hope, good luck. It's getting tougher now to buy your first home. So, and they wonder why people aren't having as many children. Well, try buying your first home with this interest rate and have a child. Me and my wife were very blessed that we lucked into some decisions, and it's worked out good for us, right? You know what I mean? Like
we chose those decisions.
We made our own luck, I guess. Right. Yeah, but nonetheless, it's we're trying to create more affordable housing for people is what that is, and it's a lesser footprint on the towns.
Right.
And they hold that sacred there. They do not like this beautiful farmer's field where he'd have dairy cows running, and now it's just a subdivision of houses.
Right.
They don't like that. They really, really want to preserve what it was.
Okay, so...
But they understand the pressure from the state government to give up land for more people to live, because people don't want to live in the big cities anymore.
Well, and do you have a plan to do that, or do you have any plans or any goals in Canada? Like, because that seems like that would be like 10, 15 years down the road to me.
10, 15 years from now, I'm around 50. You're getting a little long in the tooth to be going after endeavors of that magnitude in price, unless
I disagree, because I know the mind, and you have a mind that will never stop, and it won't matter if it's a subdivision in Australia or there. All that matters is the infrastructure of your network. So I don't believe in that. I don't say you're gonna just stop and go start fishing. I don't believe in that, because I know I won't. I know there's people that will do that, and there's people that won't. I don't think you're built
it depends.
That way.
This is where I come back to get as much working capital as you can.
Right.
Build your working capital, because the more working capital I get, the easier it can come.
Right.
I'm not gonna put my house on the line, my family on the line by going to the bank and saying, hey, I need $2 million to build this so I can build a show home, so then I can try and sell the rest of this. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm going to do it with my money. Or at least have my money there and then use my money to get the bank's money to do that.
Investors.
You know what I mean? So the importance of capital, however you got to get it. Like if you want fancy house, fancy cars, hey, that's great. That's fine. But if you're going to be either asset poor or just cash poor, you're not opening many doors.
Right.
You know what I mean? But a strong working capital opens up avenues that you didn't know were even available. People just, an opportunity will come up to you, and you have no idea that kind of thing could happen till you had the money to pull the trigger on it.
100%.
So the importance of just working with that.
Okay. And then any other goals that we can get on camera, just to say, in 2-3 years you rewatch this podcast, you're like, oh my God, did it. Short term, 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. What is your goals? Obviously,
you know what, man? Like, the business is projecting in the right direction.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let it do its thing organically.
Right.
I'm not gonna force it. Not gonna force growth, because that's when I'm gonna run into trouble. I have my equipment. I have this. Now it's just build the money, and when you need to buy something to do something, you can just do that.
No, but that's not my point. I'll ask a better question. I have visions in my head of where I want to project Ryan Wiersmerica.
Mm-hmm.
You have a vision where you want to project Dave Newton Construction. What is that vision? Like, when you have your little imaginary fest, what do you see in 3 years?
I see myself sitting at a table. Maybe not 3 years, but probably realistic would be maybe 5.
Okay.
It's probably more realistic at the earliest. I see myself sitting at a table in my hometown having a conversation with the council about how I can fit the same amount of residences into this much land compared to this much land and make it affordable for a first home buyer.
That's your vision. So you're bringing
that
massive capital into Aussie land.
It's going to take help.
Right.
This isn't something I know this. I can't do it on my own, but I got to choose the help I want to take.
Right.
I have no doubt in my mind, zero whatsoever, that certain people are going to want to jump on this when they understand what I'd like to do. But I got to choose real help.
Okay.
You know, people that aren't going to get, because once the first one's done, it's a runaway train.
Well,
like
people
you're off
see
to the races as soon as you give that concept and you sell it to that, and it's easier because my family's been there their whole lives. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows each other. You go into the council, hey, I'm Dave Newton. I went to high school here. My parents lived there their whole life. Oh yeah, we know. You know, maybe one of my neighbors is on the committee. You know what I mean? Like this is what I propose for what
you have leverage and networking.
I have a relationship.
I have a relationship
with that. You know, hey, I only left because I had to, not because I wanted to. Because I still think where I grew up was the most beautiful place in the world.
Really?
Well, I flew into Kelowna after our last trip. I flew in and I could not have been more depressed. I know. Look at it. Look at this. It's gorgeous.
You're fucked.
But till you've been there, you probably you don't understand.
Yeah.
This is every day there. There's no 3-4 months of winter or 5 months of winter. There's none of that. It's white sand beaches and surf and lots of other things. Like lots of other things. It costs nothing. Your only bills are what your house costs to run. And if you want to buy a big truck, I guess, then that's another one. But whatever. But that's where I'd like to get to, is take some of this capital that I'm trying to accumulate and use it to start an endeavor there. But it's not something I can. It's not as easy as saying I'm going to move to Kelowna. 6 months later, I'm moving to Kelowna.
So Aussie land, condos, 50 instead of 50 acres. It's pretty cool. I like it. You were thinking about 5 years in.
5 acres costs a lot less than 50 acres.
It does.
Putting 50 doors is a lot cheaper than putting 50 doors in 5 acres is a lot cheaper than putting 50
100%.
doors on.
100%.
Less dirt to move, less infrastructure. You just got to make sure the sewer's the biggest one.
Yeah.
Making sure your sewer.
My last question. What is your vision here in Canada? What is your projected vision? So you're 5 years back in Aussie land, building 50 condos.
I want to be there and here. If I could do
insane.
If I could do November through to March there, and then the rest of the year, I'm not going anywhere in the summer here. Like, this is as good as it gets. Like, even down there, it's a different good, but this is as good as it gets.
So you're trying to do.
But I'd like to go down
6
there, or even 5 and 7, 8 and 4. Yeah, and make that a staple. The company can run itself. I can do that from across the world with my phone. I have the guys in place.
In Aussie land.
No, here.
Here, right.
So I can keep business running here. Like, business is good here, so I don't want to stop this. But it's getting set up there.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. That's badass. Man. So on podcasts, we're going to see if it happens. But Dave.
We'll find out.
Dave Newton. The man. The myth. The Aussie. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the Wiersmerica podcast.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see if you can do that. That'd be badass.
Yeah.
We know now.
Oh, you want to get on a boat or what?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I do.
Let's go get on the boat.
On a boat.